book lovers, it is GSwiz here, and I am here today with my March TBR. So after the lovey-dovey month of February, I decided I wanted to kick some goals. Personal goals that I've had, like self-destructing books, books to reread in the lead up to sequels, all that stuff, etc. I also have a book series that I have been putting off for a while that I specifically wanted to read this month because I wanted to put it in my 5-star predictions TBR for the year. And there's also a Fairy Loot special edition dropping later this month. So I need to get onto it. And then we have a bunch of manga. So I guess that is the summary of it all. I'm going to go into detail about each individual book / series, and I am going to kick this off with some manga, starting off with Kaiju number 8 volume 1. I actually want to start reading this manga in the lead up to the anime that is going to be dropping in April, I believe. I've wanted to read this one for a while, but I just have a feeling that the anime is going to give me Chainsaw Man vibes. So I am like really excited to watch it, but before I proceed with watching it, I would like to at least start the manga series. And if I'm not necessarily feeling it with the manga, I do want to watch the anime and see like whether or not I will be motivated to continue on from there. I've just heard absolutely great things about Kaiju number 8, and I'm not even into kaiju. Like, whenever I think about big monsters, I mean, this probably goes hand in hand with the fear of dinosaurs that I have. I usually turn the other way, but there's just something about Kaiju number 8 and its success, its popularity, all that stuff, etc., that has intrigued me. And that's actually why I do want to watch the anime and read the manga. Sometimes when it comes to manga series, I kind of want to explore things that I kind of do fear. I mean, I did read Tomi by Junji Ito last year, and for some reason, even though it was very disgusting, I could not help but absolutely love my reading experience. I know this is not on the same level as that, but considering that I am terrified of dinosaurs, I'm still kind of curious, and I do want to check this out and see whether or not I like it. And the next manga volume that I've placed on my March TBR is Zom 100 volume 13. This is highly anticipated. I personally remember finishing volume 12 being absolutely shocked and horrified and sad, but I'm so looking forward to see how this kind of resolves what happened at the end of volume 12. I initially was going to read this in February, but considering that I was reserving February for a bunch of like lovey-dovey reads, I decided to put it off for March. It actually came out in February, so that is kind of why I was going to read it in February. But I decided no, like put it on my March TBR, we'll see how it go. Maybe the events of volume 12 will be brushed off in here. I haven't seen the most positive reviews about this volume, and so I'm a little bit nervous about volume 13, I'm not gonna lie, but I cannot wait to continue on with the series. I'm finally caught up with Zone 100. I was previously trying to catch up by reading 3 volumes a month, and that worked very successfully for me. But yeah, now I'm caught up, and it just does not feel the same. But I am excited to read everything volume by volume going forward. And the last manga volume I will mention on my March TBR is The Way of the House Husband volume 11. I just enjoy these for a good time. I don't really need to explain this one that much because I've been reading Way of the House Husband for probably maybe 2 years now, and every single time a new volume comes out I get so hyped. I just seriously love following Tatsu and his shenanigans. This series I just read for humor, I just read for funsies. There is no overarching plot. It's just a slice of life story where you are following a former Yakuza boss being a house husband. I love this so much. I cannot wait to read this for relief because, oh my goodness, do I need relief in my life. And now we move on to the novels that are currently on my March TBR, starting off with a bunch of rereads. So right here I have the Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Lees, books 1 to 6, because book 7 is scheduled to come out in April, and yeah, I would absolutely love a reread of this book series. I still think about this book series to this day. However, I just know that there are some elements of everyone's story that kind of just blends together in my mind now because it has been almost a year since I read this series. So I want to reread it in the lead up to If Only You. No, If Only You? No. If Only You is this one. Oh my goodness. These titles are way too similar to each other. Only and Forever. Yes, the final book in the series is called Only and Forever, and that is Vigo's story. I'm so excited for Vigo's story, and I absolutely love getting to read about Vigo through these books as a side character. He is hilarious, and I have just been anticipating his romance for a while, so I cannot wait for book number 7. But before we get to book number 7, I really want to read the rest of the sibling stories again. I just love this family so much. I know that this family is like too good to be be true. Like, they're just so pure. But for some reason, this is just pure comfort. Like, honestly, I just enjoy reading about the Bergman family so much. I just kind of wish that I was an adopted Bergman family member. This series helps me escape, so I'm hoping it will help me escape within the month of March, and I'll let you guys know how I go with my reread and whether or not my opinion has changed on any of the books. And speaking of rereads, I have The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, because The Prisoner's Throne, I believe, comes out in March or April. I really need to check that. I've pre-ordered the audiobook. I have not pre-ordered a standard hardback yet, so that's probably why I have not been really paying attention to the release date. Usually, I would pay more attention to rereading the books if they're kind of like closer to the previous release date. So I actually thought that the sequel was gonna come out like first thing in 2024, but it turns out it got pushed out like a little bit, so it was like a 15-month gap. So I've just been waiting for The Prisoner's Throne for some time, which, I mean, I'm not too mad about. Like, I don't mind a 15-month gap. But at this point, the story of The Stolen Heir is less fresh in my head, so that's why I want to go back and reread it. It's also a very quick read as well. It's not going to take me that long. I do remember the ending of this book, but I do want to refamiliarize myself with the side characters. Like, I do want to remember the side characters because I mainly remember Suren and Prince Oak. Like, I love them two so much, and I honestly enjoyed Suren's story. I loved getting to see her character development and her gaining strength and confidence, but I don't remember much about the side characters. So I would love to revisit the story to kind of like refamiliarize myself, get to know everyone's name again, so that I am the most prepared going into The Prisoner's Throne. Fingers crossed I get to this one this month. If I don't, then I'm gonna put off my read of The Prisoner's Throne. And guys, my self-destructing TBR, the last one that I posted, that expires at the end of March, so I need to get onto some of the books, and I know I'm not going to get to all of them, but I know that I at least need to try with these next two books that I have placed on this March TBR. Firstly, I have A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I totally forgot that I put this on a self-destructing TBR, and I did because I wanted to motivate myself to purchase A Fire Endless, and look where we are now. Like, I do actually want to keep this book. I actually attempted to read the first chapter or two of this book and I could not get into the story, but I'm hearing absolutely amazing things about A River Enchanted, and I have read a few books by Rebecca Ross and have absolutely adored them. I kind of hate the fact that I've put this on a self-destructing TBR, but it kind of makes sense because I did need to motivate myself to read it because it was just sitting on my shelf collecting dust, and I do want to read A Fire Endless. I do want to read this at some point, so I'm hoping to get to this one in March so I can save it. If I don't finish it by the end of March, that is okay. But if I start it and I am absolutely adoring it, then honestly, I consider that a win. Similarly to the other book, and the reason why I'm considering at least starting the books and wanting to continue them as a win, because some of these books are really chunky. Like, this book right here is like 500 pages. So I just know that this one is going to take some time, and if I am trying to finish my Bergman Brothers reread and my Stolen Heir reread, and then try to finish the other series that I've also placed on this TBR, and I cannot finish this book, but I know that I will continue on with it, then I have to at least accommodate to that. I can't just unhold the book because I didn't finish it, you know? Like, I would just rather unhold the book if I don't like it. So I need to try it before I unhaul it. And the second self-destructing book that I've placed on my March TBR is this one right here, Dance of Thieves. I've had a few people try to convince me that this book is good without necessarily saying that it's nothing like the Remnant Chronicles, so I'm not completely convinced yet. Like, I did not hate the Remnant Chronicles, but I just need to know that the romance is not going to go in a toxic direction like the romance between Prince Rafferty and Leah. I've mentioned this before, I will mention this again. I do need to speak to a therapist about my beef with Prince Rafferty because it has been a few years and I have not moved on from how he did Leah dirty and how he did me dirty. I'm really nervous going into Dance of Thieves because I actually attempted to read this book a few years back, like around 6 months after the Remnant Chronicles. I thought I had moved on. I mean, clearly I've not moved on, right? From how I feel, but 6 months after reading the Remnant Chronicles and just hearing the places, the locations, all that stuff, etc., it made my blood boil. Like, my blood pressure was rising as I started this book, so I had to put it down. And I don't want to experience that again. I might though, but it has been over 3.5 years since I did read the Remnant Chronicles, so I have had some time. I'm still bitter about Prince Rafferty, but I don't completely remember this world. And I do reckon that the Dance of Thieves duet will have its own world building and all that stuff etc, so it will kind of refresh me. I am honestly nervous about going into this book. I actually think that it's gonna make me angry rather than happy, and I want to be proven wrong. I've decided that with Dance of Thieves, I'm going to keep the same energy for it as I am with A River Enchanted if I don't end up finishing this first book within the month. But I started, I'm like halfway through it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm really enjoying it and I do want to continue on with it. Then I've decided that I am not going to unhaul it. I am going to give the rest of the series a chance. And if Vow of Thieves ends up finishing the same way that Beauty of Darkness finished, then I will be forever bitter and I will probably unhaul the books. But if these books are actually resolved in a different way, like a quite opposite way, in a very healthy way, then maybe this might be a new favorite series of mine. I think that the Remnant Chronicles had so much potential. I loved the first two books in that series, and Beauty of Darkness just ruined everything for me. That book honestly did not need to be 700 pages, and I am just really upset. I actually feel catfished by Prince Rafferty. Like, honestly, he was too good to be true, and then boom, he's terrible. I don't know. Yeah, too many red flags. I'm still thinking about it, and that's why I just find it really difficult to forgive this series in general, like this world. Mary E. Pearson. I find it hard to forgive Mary E. Pearson, especially after that final book. I'm just hoping that this book series will kind of just help me move on from that. I just need to heal from it, you know? The second last book series that I've placed on my March TBR doesn't really have a specific reason why it's in March, but I just want to read a breakaway from everything. Like, I've got a bunch of fantasy romance, I've got some contemporary romance that just so happens to be wholesome, I've got some manga, but I've decided that I want to add some Mafia romance to the mix. So I decided to place this duet, The Sinner's Duet by Sophie Lark, on this TBR. The first book being There Are No Saints, and the second book being There Is No Devil. These books are very short. I think that the longest book in this series might just be still under 300 pages. That's awesome. So this duet altogether is like around under 600 pages, so I reckon it's doable. I do love completing series, and I think that completing this series might just make me feel well accomplished. If for some reason I feel like my self-destructing books are just too much and I need to put them down, I have decided that this is the series I want to pick up just to kind of help me get through the month, because I've put a bunch of fantasy romance on this TBR, and this is not me saying that I don't love fantasy romance, but if I read too much of one thing, I might just get sick of it. So I've decided that The Sinner's Duet is going to be my breakaway read. I'm going to also use this as a breakaway read if I feel as if I am also burnt out on the Bergman brothers as well. Like, as much as I love the Bergman brothers series and I do want to continue on with the series, this right here is just a good breakaway. I love a good high stakes Mafia romance. I do want to get into Mafia romance more just for escapism purposes, so I plan to get to this one in March. I don't necessarily need to strictly read it in March, but I've put it on here as a breakaway read just in case I need a breakaway read from all the series that I've just mentioned. And last but certainly not least, yes, when I did mention a Fairy Loot special edition set, and if you guessed this series, then you guessed right. I do want to read the Night Duet this month. Here I have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. The second book is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and then there's this novella called Six Scorched Roses that I also want to read. I just know that I'm going to have an excellent time this month. This TBR is probably one of my favorite TBRs that I've ever compiled, and I'm also including Carissa Broadbent in the mix, which is awesome. So the second last week of March, the set goes on sale on Fairy Loot's website, and you know what? Yes, I kind of feel a little bit bad that I am a little bit more motivated by this sale. If I had the opportunity to read this sometime later in the year, just somewhere closer to my top 24 of 2024, I would have probably taken that opportunity first, but I specifically chose March for a few reasons. Firstly, because I knew that the Fairy Loot sale was going to happen in March, and secondly, I knew that I was going to post my 5-star predictions video in March. So I decided to make March the month that I was going to read Serpent and the Wings of Night, especially because it's really difficult for me to have 5-star predictions for any other book series. It was really difficult to compile that 5-star predictions list that I planned to post. I don't know whether it's up yet or it's going up in March specifically. I know that it's the first 7 on Sunday of March, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, honestly, I did find it really difficult to compile a 5-star predictions list, so that is kind of why I decided to hold off and just add Serpent and the Wings of Night to the 5-star predictions TBR. But I also held back from reading this series in 2023 because honestly, I really did want to spotlight the War of Lost Hearts in my my top 23 of 2023. I wanted that to be my number one, and I wanted to talk about it for some time, and I also wanted some time to digest the story and discuss it on my channel, and thankfully I had the opportunity to do that. I gave myself the time to digest and talk about the War of Lost Hearts. Now I want to do it with Serpent and the Wings of Night. I've just heard amazing things about the series. I'm seeing people everywhere chase special editions for it. I'm seeing everywhere people absolutely marvel at this book series and say that it's one of the best book series that they've ever read. I have people in my personal life who absolutely adore the series and say it is their favorite series of all time. I know I've put this series off. I know I feel as if I am the last romantasy reader to read the series. I'm finally gonna do it though. I literally have 4 copies of Serpent and the Wings of Night alone. I've got the Arcane Society exclusive edition, I've got the trad published edition, I have the indie published edition, and I have the Bookish Box special edition on the way to me because that was a book subscription pick. Then there is potential in me getting the Fairy Loot edition if I just so happen to love this series. If I don't love the series, then that set can go to someone else. We'll see how I go. I have a feeling, like a really good feeling, a really good feeling that this book series is going to be one of the best series I've read in 2024. There's only one way to find out, and that is if I finally read it. I'll see you on the other side. So I guess it's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the pink heart emoji with the sparkles. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already joined the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at gswizzelbooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also at Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
And I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.